The only way to achieve what you want is to set specific, actionable goals. Well, that's just not true. So let me share a story with you about Brad. Brad owns an auto detailing business with his family, and he wanted to break 7 figures. You heard that right. He was trying to break 7 figures in an auto detailing business. They had one shop and they had tons of clients, but they weren't able to crack this code. So he wanted to break 7 figures, and he kept focusing on this. And when we got together, we soon realized that he had the wrong team. And we did that by looking at his future and thinking about what his business would look like in 3 years' time, and then comparing that against what it is right now. So he didn't have the right team in place. So even if he had the right goals and he set actions to achieve them, which would likely be to work harder, make more sales, offer more services, work longer hours, that wouldn't have solved his problem. The problem was that he had the wrong team. He had 2 people on his 8-person team that were not a good fit. And so he needed to remove some of those people in order to grow. So specific actionable goals can help you, but they have to be in the right direction. You have to be focusing on the right thing. So are goals completely meaningless? Of course not. Goals are good for setting your direction, but you need a roadmap combined with systems to make progress. And when you spend too much time thinking about your goals and not enough time designing a roadmap and systems, problems will always hit you in the face. And there's a big misconception that stops people from making money and scaling their businesses and living life in their dreams. Think about it. If successful and unsuccessful people share the same goals, then setting goals cannot be what differentiates the winners from the losers. According to James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, goal setting suffers from a case of survivorship bias. We naturally concentrate on the people who end up winning, the survivors, and mistakenly assume that ambitious goals led to their success, while overlooking all the people who had the same objective but didn't win. Every Olympian wants to win the gold medal, right? Every business owner wants to impact millions of people, right? They want to impact people with their products and be profitable and live a meaningful life, right? The point here is that when you focus too much on your goal, you get lost trying to muster up the motivation to take actions that will somehow miraculously produce the results you need to achieve. But in reality, it's more about what you stop doing, what you remove from your life and your business, and the systems that you put in place that will produce the outcomes you want. In his book, Atomic Habits, James Clear said that it is easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements on a daily basis. Too often we convince ourselves that massive action requires massive action. He went on to say that we put pressure on ourselves to make some earth-shattering improvement that everyone will talk about. But that rarely happens, does it? We often think that we have to do something that other people are going to recognize because we want to be validated. But honestly, we just need systems in place. We need to take steps. We need to measure our gains backwards and make progress. Robert Puff, he's a PhD, and he stated that when we dwell too much on goals, we become preoccupied with their achievement or lack thereof. Rather than focusing on the life that is unfolding before our eyes, our attention is turned inside. That is to say, we become preoccupied with our thoughts. We are thinking constantly about what we have to do more of, what we're doing right, and what we're doing wrong. So it's not about measuring yourself and being critical. Here's the thing. It's the micro improvements that make moving forward step by step that compound over time. Charlie Munger said the first rule of compounding is never interrupt it unnecessarily. So if you're moving in the right direction and it's compounding, don't interrupt it. But the only thing that most people see are the end results, not the efforts that preceded it. So it's not about just goal setting. Goal setting is advantageous only if we have systems and a roadmap in place and we take consistent action towards it. If we're not taking consistent actions and we're not measuring our gains backwards, measuring against where we came from, then we're going to get caught in a vicious loop of measuring ourselves against the goal, the identity, the ideal situation where, we've achieved that goal, but that's intangible. If we say, we're going to make $1 million, or we're a millionaire, or we're, a billionaire, that's just not true. And we know that our subconscious mind, our beliefs are going to go against that. We have to believe that we deserve something. And in order to believe that we deserve something, we have to have some relevance. So we have to take simple, incremental steps towards it. And as it builds our relevance, then we build confidence and courage. It becomes something that we can see and feel and know and trust that we can actually accomplish this thing. Years ago, I ran marathons, and when I started, I was running, short distances, maybe 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, just building up slowly. I could not foresee running 42 kilometers, 26 miles, and I did not foresee myself running that in about 3 hours and 20 minutes. I didn't see that. I didn't have that capability of determining that. I had run races in the past, but I didn't really train properly, and I didn't know what I was doing, and so I was just guessing. But ultimately, I was able to train and practice and get to a point where I was running long distances and relatively easily, and then I could go out and run marathons. So I had to build up the relevance and I had to familiarize myself with running for long distances and managing it, and how do I manage my energy and my water consumption and so on. How do I do that? And it took a lot of practice, a lot of training. And to run a marathon, if you've ever run one, it takes about 8 months in training. So it takes a lot of practice. You set the goal, but then it's all about what the little steps that you're taking. If you're moving through the dark, you're walking on a beach in the dark and it's pitch black, you only need to see 2 feet in front of you, 3 feet in front of you. You don't need to see way down the road, so you can set your goal, but it's ultimately the systems and the roadmap that will get you there. And even in marathon training, what did we do? We just focused on running certain distances. We would run, 2 kilometers for a week or two, and then we move up to 5 kilometers. We'd only move up, increase by 30% or so, and just keep increasing. And then we would get to a half marathon, 21 kilometers, and then we would taper back down to about 18, 19 kilometers, and then ramp up again and keep going up, and then taper down and then ramp back up. There's a whole methodology behind it. That was the system. That was the process we took, but it took incremental steps. And like I said, everybody sees the end results. I went and ran the Disney World Marathon, and I finished in 3 hours and 21 minutes, and I was the fastest in our group. And there was an elite runner, but he got injured on the run, in the race. But the thing was, I didn't know that I could actually run that distance at that speed, but, in training, I could certainly run, say 10 kilometers in 45 minutes. And so ultimately, it was about the training and the roadmap that got me there. And now I know what my capacity is and what my potential is. And then I can set goals that are even better than that, and then move even faster if I wanted to. You have to be motivated. So this is a roadblock that people run into. They think they need to set specific actionable goals and then just keep focusing on the goal, Bob Proctor was my mentor. He gave me a goal card years ago, and it was just a little business card, and it said, he said, write down your goal in that card. Write down what you want. And it doesn't matter how far into the future it is, but write it down, then read it every time, 3 times a day. That was a great methodology for him. It worked for him, and it worked for Napoleon Hill, and he wrote it about in Think, Grow Rich. But it doesn't always work for everybody, because basically you're climbing a mountain with a boulder on your back, and you're trying to go against everything that's, your beliefs and your habits and your practices, and everybody around you is clashing against you. It takes a lot of momentum, a lot of willpower to climb and to hit your goal. And you have to just keep on moving and keep focusing on it. But I think that's the old way. The new way is that you now focus on what are the incremental steps that you're going to take day by day. What are the systems that you're going to put in place? are you going, and how you're going to measure your progress. You have to measure, because you can't optimize unless you're measuring, right? You can optimize what you measure, and you have to standardize what you want to multiply. So if you're going to multiply your efforts and get what you want, then you need to standardize. That means you need to have systems. You need to systemize, and then you can optimize. And before all of that, you have to strategize. You have to focus on what you want and why you want it, what's motivating you. You know, you have to have your heart. What's in your heart? What's motivating you there? And then you get your head working with that, and that's your mindset. And then ultimately you have a method, which is, I use the 12-week year system. It's a 12-week focused productivity system, and it helps you take actionable steps and measure backwards. You're always measuring your gains. You're playing gain mode. It's a gain mode game where you're measuring your gains against last week, even against the month before. You just keep measuring your gains based on where you came from. And as long as you can see progress and you're moving forward and you're feeling good, then you know that you're moving towards your goal. And as long as you're taking actions and you're 85% or more above on your actions being achieved and being completed, then you're going to accomplish your goal. That's based on the book, The 12-Week Year, which establishes that you must take actions on things you control, only things you can control, and then you measure them against where you came from. You always look back in the week before and see what progress you made. If you're not making progress, then it's likely the goal is not right for you, and the actions you're taking are not motivating you, and so you're not going to continue taking them. And it'll start compounding in the wrong direction. You'll start compounding, against yourself. You'll be critical of yourself, and you'll be critical of the things that you're doing and the actions you're taking. And you'll be critical of the people around you and the circumstances, and then you'll be resisting. You'll be in resistance mode instead of receiving mode. You want to be in receiving mode. So you set the goal, you establish the systems, you take the action, measure backwards, see what gains you've made, and then you make incremental progress. And as you make progress, you feel really good. So I mentioned this 12-week year system, this 12-week focused productivity system. I have this awesome tool. You can grab it. I'll put in the link below. You can grab it and put it into action. And if you're not sure how to put it in action, then you can reach out to me and my team, and we can see if this is something that you want to work on and you want some accountability. So this is the thing. Your goal setting is important, but it's not everything. It's not the be-all and end-all. You need to have systems and a roadmap in place in order to take consistent actions, and you need to have some accountability built in. Otherwise, there's going to be tough days, and when those tough days come and go and you don't do something, and if you do that again, it's a habit. Once you repeat something twice, it's a habit, and then it'll start compounding in the wrong direction, and you will go against yourself. You'll be resisting instead of receiving, and you will know it. But unless you have somebody who's there also watching and helping you and guiding you with accountability, then you're not likely to face your demons and then move forward. So this is deep work we're talking about here. And if you want to do this kind of deep work, then you need to have systems. You need to have systems in place, and you need to have roadmap, and you need to focus. And do not let those big goals scare you. Big goals are good. Big, hairy, audacious goals. You've heard that saying, BHAGs. If you have a BHAG, great, awesome. Now, what are the steps you're going to take to get there? Because you can always connect the dots looking backwards, as Steve Jobs said. So why don't we create the milestones that we can hit? And as we hit them along the way, then we look backwards and we connect those dots. That's the critical factor. Let's learn what he taught us, and let's not do what he did, which is let his health go and then die. Rest in peace, Steve Jobs. But, we don't need to do this. And we can have a system that's going to build the business, that's going to fuel our freedom to do what we need for our health and for our relationships. Those are the three main pillars that I focus my attention on, and I think you should too. If you let any one of those go, this triangle, it'll crumble. If you don't have your health, your relationships, and your business all tuned in, then you're not going to get to where you want to go. And there's no point in having goals, because you might go against yourself, or you might even achieve them, but then your health and your relationships might suffer, and then you're going to regret that. So once again, big goals, they are advantageous, but you need systems and roadmaps to get you there. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video. Bye.